we have some bullshit, don't we, Lewis?
We do. We have plenty of bullshit. Sorry, I'm fixing my hair again. And we're doing that the entire episode, and viewers are going to be like, oh, why didn't Lewis get a haircut? Yes, sorry, we have got some bullshit.
Yes.
I'm ready. Please, bull my shit.
I'll bull your shit, don't you worry, pal.
Good stuff.
Okay, so I'm lifting the wheel up this time because it's a pain in the arse to try and turn around and sort of, But here we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Born ready.
Married at First Sight.
Married at First Sight. Yeah, it's been a reality show in the UK that I have been completely unaware of until Channel 4 were, quite frankly, relentlessly, what's the word? They were relentlessly advertising it. And so Chloe and I watched it just on a bit of a whim one night and got massively hooked. Essentially, I think I enjoy it in the same way that you enjoy Love Island, which is semi-ironically.
Yeah, very much so.
But yeah, it's right. The gimmick is that these people meet for the first time and get married, and then after they get married, they are sort of together through they call it an experiment. It's like, oh, these complete strangers that we've matched because we think they're going to get together and be happy together and all this sort of stuff. So won't that be lovely? And then through the course of the experiment, they'll have interactions with these relationship coaches and couples counsellors and stuff. And one of them was a sex therapist, but that never really came up, which was a bit strange. But they made like a big deal out of it in the first episode. It's like, this is such and such. She's a sex therapist. Then they never mentioned it again. It was a bit weird. But anyway, essentially, yeah, the gimmick is that two people get married, and then after they get married, they are together, I suppose, for the duration of the experiment. And in the end, they can do a vow renewal ceremony to say, yep, we're definitely together. We're in love. We're a powerful, strong couple, and we're going to stay together, sort of thing.
Right.
That's the gimmick.
Okay.
However, what the show really is 12 people. 6 of them are perfectly normal people, and 6 of them are the worst examples of humanity that you will ever be able to find. It's the most insane nonsense. The best one that comes to mind is there was a couple this year called Luke and Morag.
Morag, what a great name.
Yes, it is a pretty good name, isn't it? She's a terrible person, though. But yeah, Luke and Morag, they had their sort of wedding day, and she comes down the aisle, and they sort of meet at the altar, sort of thing, and they're like, "Hi, I'm Luke. Hi, I'm Morag." All the rest of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, are you nervous? Yeah, I'm nervous too. And they were sort of giggling and laughing and all the rest of it. And it was quite sweet in a strange way, because the only wedding we'd seen before this point in the show was sort of quite a serious one, and the bride came down the stairs, and the husband was like, "Oh wow, you look amazing. Your dress is great," and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
And then he came down the aisle, and they were laughing together. It was like, oh, that's quite sweet. And then they got married and did the whole ceremony and all the rest of it. And their families were all interacting, and it was quite nice. And immediately afterwards, there's like a sort of an interview with each of them. Well, I say an interview. You know, in reality shows, they cut to like a talking head of the person. It was a talking head of Morag saying, well, I didn't exactly get what I ordered, did I? Because she provided this physical description to these matchmakers that Luke apparently did not meet. And it's just the strangest thing. She kept telling him, no, you're not my type, I don't find you physically attractive. And then with the next breath, she would be saying things like, I just don't get why you're so self-conscious around me. I just don't get why you can't feel like you can just get into bed and take off your dressing gown and get into bed. I don't see what the problem is, Luke. I don't see why you're being like this. But no, I'm not attracted to you, and I do need to drink a glass of wine for us to have sex. It's like, what?
What?
The most insane... This is what I mean! It's Luke is an absolutely lovely bloke. He sort of started the experiment, and he said... it was like a very basic sort of bio type thing, and he was like, yeah, well, my previous wife and I have split up recently, and I've felt quite bad about it, and I felt quite self-conscious and all the rest of it, and I'm looking for love again, and I thought this might be a good thing to have a go with, and it might go well, it might go badly, but I think I'd have a go, sort of thing. And he seems perfectly lovely. You meet sort of a few of their sort of family members and friends and stuff, sort of leading up to the wedding day and these interviews and stuff. And it's like, okay, that's perfectly sweet. I know. Well, that's the thing. The wedding isn't legally binding, which makes the entire thing pointless. Sure.
Yeah, really. I mean, it's
because like for my wedding, which is the first wedding I ever went to, was my own wedding. But at my wedding, Chloe and I stood there and we did the vows and everything, and we exchanged rings. and then we had to go and sign a legal document that said, okay, you are now married.
Yeah.
So it's not an actual legal ceremony. They just stand in a corridor and say, yeah, I will love you, and we'll take this journey together, and we'll do X and Y and all these other things. Okay, great, but it's
kind of like...
It's ever such a strange thing.
I mean, it's kind of like calling your TV show Deadly Swim and then going to the Glasgow swimming baths for like...
Yes, it sort of is.
But sorry,
so yeah,
continue.
Morag is a terrible example of humanity,
Mm-hmm.
and there was a couple of other terrible examples of human beings. There was a girl on it called Nikita, I think. They introduced them all, but everybody is very vapid and forgettable. So it was quite. I struggle with names at the best of times, but these people, like this procession of like 12 people, rapidly changing in front of me, and I'm just like, I don't know who any of you are. But yeah, this one Nikita that was again a terrible example of humanity. She was like very rude and blunt and aggressive and very, very argumentative with everybody that she met.
Oh my goodness!
And it was there was these really strange things, like she would be constantly saying to the person that she sort of married, so do I look good today? Do you like my hair? Do you like this? Do you like this? Do you like what I'm wearing and all the rest of it? And he'd be like, yeah, you look lovely, but why do you feel the need to keep asking? You put a lot of effort into what you look like, so surely you must know you look good. Why do you feel the need to keep asking? She took that very personally, and she was like, I don't know why you feel the need to comment on my appearance, and that it's just a joke. I just say it as a joke and all this sort of stuff. It was just, like I say, it's the most insane show, because you watch people's personal lives playing out on this intimate, disastrous level. Yeah. It's like a car crash you can't look away from, because you sort of you identify all of these personality traits that are flying around, like, oh, there's a bit of aggression, there's a bit of stubbornness, there's a bit of funniness and all the rest of it. Mm-hmm. But then they're just combined in this utterly alien way that you can't possibly conceive of. It's really weird. The final one that I wanted to talk about, I'm really sorry. The final one I wanted to talk about was Frankie, who was he was a weird bloke. I think they do this thing where they tell you all about who they are as a person and stuff. And he sort of said he was in the army for ages, then he got out the army and became a personal trainer, and now he runs a personal training business in Dubai or something like that. Yeah. And he came over to the UK and did this Married at First Sight thing, and got with this lady called Marilise. That was her name.
Sorry, what?
Marilise.
Marilise, okay.
Yeah. And she was perfectly lovely. She had, I say had, I imagine she hasn't died, but she has 2 kids and all these dogs and a nice house, and you sort of meet her friends and her family and her sisters and all the stuff, and everybody seems lovely. And they're all just like, yeah, you want to do this? That's fine, do whatever. But Frankie is like... You can tell if it was 20 years ago he would be a really abusive husband. It's really horrible to watch it play out. Things like he's massively protective. Well, I say protective, it's like protective with air quotes. I can actually do air quotes though, because I'm on camera. How brilliant is that?
Oh, I've done
protective, some. Yeah. To the degree that he's like, no, I don't want to talk to these relationship counsellors about our relationship. I think some things are private, and I don't think we should talk about that, Marilise, and all these other things. And it was like... there's this thing called Yes Week, where for a week, one member of the couple has to say yes to everything that the other member of the couple asks them to do, and it's supposed to highlight insecurities and stuff like that. And Marilise said to Frankie, "Will you cook us a meal?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course I will. I'll cook us a meal." But he sort of was like really struggling to do it. I mean, he was putting deliberate difficulty onto it, if that makes sense. Like he was sort of rolling his eyes and sighing and just like, "Oh, I can't be bothered to do that. Oh my God, this is like." And she said, "Oh, have you got the parmesan, Frankie?" And he went, "Oh, for God's sake, no, I haven't." It was like this the worst, most wounding thing she could have possibly said to him.
Yeah,
mate, calm it down. And the other thing that got me was like they have these regular dinner parties as like check-ins on the couples, as it were. And at one of these dinner parties, Frankie was sort of addressing the table and saying something, and Marilise said, because they handed out these anonymous notes about their relationships, to stir the pot. And she held up the note and said, "Whoever wrote it, just thanks for writing it, thanks for all the nice things you said," sort of thing. And Frankie turns to her and goes, "Maybe when I'm speaking, don't speak." And it's like, oh my God, it's like the most controlling, terrifying man that I've ever seen portrayed. It's really... horrible, really horrible. And I don't know, it's just, there's something about him where everything is, I don't know, he feels like he'd turn around and smack me if I said I didn't like his hair. I don't know, it's a very strange person. I don't know, it was something about it that really set me on edge. And that's what I wanted to mention, was that Married at First Sight is not, in any circumstances, like a romantic show. It's
No.
6 people meeting 6 of the worst examples of humanity ever. It's utterly bizarre. There's this one bloke who was like, "You're a pretty girl. Pretty girls shouldn't use bad language." And it's like, what?
Oh my
And
god.
what was the there was this other one, Bob and Megan. Bob was this lovely bloke, and it was just like, yeah, I've got lots of mates, and I like to, quite a charming guy, and all the rest of it. And he was charming, and he was the nicest person, really, apart from maybe Luke. He was like the nicest person out of this crop of people,
Yeah.
and he was put together with this person, Megan, who was like perhaps the least likable person out of the entire group. She had this very strange, jarring personality that's just difficult to bear in any meaningful sense.
Yeah.
And she went off and kissed another member of the experiment, and then deliberately hid the truth from him and didn't tell him and stuff. And it's like, it's
a bit bad.
the reason I want to bring it up
Jesus.
is because it's like how you enjoy Love Island. It feels like a weird zoo exhibit that I'm staring at.
Wow. I mean,
it's weird.
this seems like so much better than Love Island, because I only watched Love Island for like the inevitable destruction of people's sanity. But yeah, I mean, do people not realise that people who actually do get married and spend all the time together end up falling out? Like, never mind people that have just met each other. Like, it's such a recipe for disaster.
Yeah, no, I completely know what you mean. And that's the thing, is like, something you see a lot in the show is it's less about, is this marriage doomed to failure or will it succeed? It's more about how effective are these people at communicating their feelings.
Yeah.
So like, it's that's something that I've noticed personally, is that I am not very good at communicating my feelings, and so you get better at it, and that's how you sustain things, right?
Yeah.
But like, it's absolutely bizarre. These people in the show that are just, it's like it's watching a child interact with somebody else. This complete inability to sort of express the way they're feeling and what they're saying and all the rest of it. It's really bizarre. Really bizarre.
We'll need to do like a whisper for it next year when it comes out, and react to it in real time, because it sounds mesmerising.
We'll have a watch party for the first episode.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, I mean, reality TV, it used to be like, in many ways it's better, but in many ways it's so much worse, because it's so normalised now. Like, I remember seeing a TikTok of it said British TV used to be like so bad, and it was this guy who would like go to these like families, and he's like, this week we're seeing the Jensen family, who are the biggest bunch of fat people I have ever seen in my life. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
It's just so bad, and it's like, you can't even imagine that ever, like,
You can't
being
imagine
allowed.
thinking it, let alone seeing it on
Yeah.
the TV.
It's like, oh my god, it's like a guy talking about like cars or something. Like, it's that bad. He's like, these are the biggest bunch of fatties I've ever seen in my life. Like, oh my Jesus, that would just be
cars.
No. It's like he was talking about these people, like cars, like just sort of completely objectifying them.
Oh, I see.
And, like,
yeah, okay. I thought you meant it was like an episode of Top Gear where
No.
Jeremy Clarkson turned to the camera and said, "You know what I hate is fat people."
Yeah.
What?
Well, he's probably said that at some point.
He almost certainly has. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was so bad. It was just like it seemed crueler, and yet nowadays it's like they're still doing it, but they're presenting it in a way where less people are complaining about it, if you get me. Like these incredible...
Yes. Yeah.
Like in
because
Love
it's
Island...
not the companies are doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, exactly. Like Love Island, for example, it's these incredibly vapid and sort of just incredibly unreliable people sort of saying things that are right and moral, but it's you sort of question whether they have the right to say it because of how shit they are. If you get what I mean, it's like
Sort of.
I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, so yeah, so there was this woman called Faye in Love Island this year who lost the plot over this guy called Hugo, who they were talking about things that they didn't like and things that they did like about their sort of partners and stuff, and Hugo said that he didn't like fakeness, and Faye is a person who's had Botox and plastic surgery in her face, and she took that very, very personally and said, you have no idea the amount of social pressure that women are under to get these sort of facial changes and how, you know, stringent they are and stuff. And she's absolutely correct. Yeah. But then, like, a couple of episodes later, she would talk about, like, oh yeah, I bet his dick's small and stuff. Like, just, like, completely, like, just absolutely throwing any sort of integrity down the pan because she doesn't want to be sort of looked at in that way, but throws out judgment after judgment after judgment on people. It's like, it just sort of rings hollow in that sense, if you get me.
I do get you, yeah. Yeah. It's difficult to understand someone's moral point of view in any meaningful way if they don't hold up to it. It's a sort of do as I say, not as I do type situation. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely. It drives me off my rocker.
I'm sure.
But yeah, Married at First Sight and...
Mathis.
Yeah, Mathis. I think we've said enough on that for today,
we
Lewis.
Certainly have, yeah.
Yes. So with that, do we have any more bullshit, or would you like to just dive straight into...
Cheeky bit of extra bullshit, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I shall spin the wheel again.
Lovely stuff.
GB News, whatever the fuck that is.
What is it? I don't know.
Well, my understanding is that GB News is a news network.
Wow. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, do you know much about GB News, Lewis?
No, I'm aware it was set up, it was sort of proposed as sort of a right-wing news network, really, which is understandable. It's the kind of thing that exists in the world. But I'm aware there's been some kind of controversy. Nobody seems to watch it. They kicked, what's his face? Andrew Neil, who is an actual journalist. They kicked him off of it for some reason, or he left or something, because it went a bit Fox News-y. It's not news, it's propaganda. But the important thing I think to bear in mind with things like this is that, like, any set of information is essentially propaganda, because you the way in which you tell a story, the way in which you tell facts, sort of will influence the story that those facts tell. Yeah. If I tell you that Danny went to a bar and drank some whiskey and then fell over, so Danny likes to drink. Danny is a drunk. Presumably, that's the story that I'm trying to tell. Yeah. But if I tell you that Danny fell over and it was snowing, and I leave out the part about the story in which he was at a bar, it's, it was icy. Danny, well-known, conscientious man, fell over because it was icy. Do you know what I mean? That's the point I'm trying to get at. So, when you read a news story in The Guardian, it will be presented in such a way that it has slightly more left-leaning views. You read a story in the Daily Mail, and it will have much more right-leaning views. Yeah. And so that's sort of the story of the facts that these people at GB News are trying to tell is very right-wing, as I understand it. I think Nigel Farage has like a corner that he presents some kind of news from. So good for him. Who doesn't love a bit of Nige? Yeah, I mean, fucking no. But I think that I mean, America has its Fox News, and it's, I believe it was sort of created with the sort of intention of it being, there's too many left-wing news outlets, so we need a voice in this sea of left-wing propaganda, you know. And when I hear that, and when I hear right-wing folks say that,
I just think, are these people actually, like, serious? Like, the idea that the prevailing view in Western society is a left-wing one is, like, so beyond a joke. Like, Fox News, for example, is the largest news network in America. That is what most people watch in America. The BBC, I mean, I'm at a quandary with the BBC because it's a state broadcaster, but if you ask someone on the left, they'll say, oh, it's right-wing propaganda. And yet, if you ask someone on the right, they'll say it's left-wing propaganda. It's very sort of... I mean, does that mean that the BBC is impartial? I don't know.
No, I do have trouble with the BBC's impartiality guidelines, because what it essentially means, if followed to the letter, is that, say it's something like, say it's two people and they're arguing about climate change, and they've got somebody that's, I was going to say pro and anti-climate change. I was going to say they've got somebody on that's that believes climate change is real, and we can do our best to reverse it and all those sort of things. That person that they get on will be a scientist of some type. It'll be Dr. Jim Jiminess, and he'll be some kind of climate scientist from some university somewhere.
Well-respected scientist. Jim Jiminina.
Yes, of course. And for the sake of impartiality, they have to get someone who doesn't believe in climate change or doesn't believe in Jim's work or whatever. Yeah. But then that people always cares a lot more than Jim does, because he goes on the news and they say to him, well, so what do you think about climate change? And he goes, yeah, it's real. The Earth is getting measurably warmer. It's a concern. Maybe we shouldn't drive cars as much. And then he says these very base level things, because those are facts that you can see on a graph.
Yeah.
But then the anti sort of climate change denier person that's sitting directly opposing him is, all they care about is being anti-climate change. They care about it so massively. They're saying, no, emissions are a massive lie. The carbon that the cars produce, that's not even a tenth of the world's smallest, tiniest pollution. Yep. Everything is basically fine. That's all they care about, is proving this guy wrong. Whereas the scientist guy cares about science more than he cares about pollution.
Yeah.
So it's not a fair and balanced debate, and it's not independent or impartial. You lean towards whoever gives more of a shit, which is often, because of the sort of emotional nature of right-wing politics, which is often somebody with a more right-leaning viewpoint.
Yeah.
So it's not impartial.
It tends to be very reactionary, and that's what, like sort of Married at First Sight and all these reality TV shows.
Yeah.
That's what people watch for. They watch for the drama. They watch for the sort of impassioned irrationality of people, whether they believe it or not, and that gives rise to these people. Like, even if like everyone that watches right wing media is a hardcore leftist, it's still a win for these reactionary types. You know, it's like if they can get support, great, but it's more about saying it enough times so that people just accept it, or are too fatigued to do battle against it. I mean, it's like, if someone's just denying basic facts and they have a platform to do that over and over and over again, you're just gonna give up. You're just gonna be, oh fuck's sake, I can't argue with you about this anymore. And yet they continue arguing over and over for people to be like, oh well, the left won't even debate it. It's like, because it's not, you can't debate it because it's not worth debating. It's a distraction. And then, you know, you've lost because you haven't shown up for a fight that's not even a fight, you know? Like the entire consensus is like against it. All medical consensus and scientific consensus points to climate change being real and very dangerous to us. And if someone's just saying, no, it's not, no, it's not, definitely not, and we're too busy arguing with them, it's like, well, you can't fucking win, you know?
It's strange because it's the thing I keep coming back to in these situations is, okay, well, I can't argue with you, so I will just fix the problem myself and hand it to you fixed, and then you can just shut up.
Yeah.
By the time I have fixed the problem, you can just fuck off.
Yeah.
So that's what I keep. I know it's a very childish sort of point of view to get to a point where I just can't be bothered to deal with it. But
yeah.
when you came to my house more recently, you showed me a video of Vorsh debating somebody about something on the internet.
Yeah.
And the thing that I kept coming back to was, he's just a very angry, sad man. You can sort of see in his demeanour, he's very angry about what he's having to do and very sad about having to do it.
Yeah.
And the thing that I keep coming back to is, why invite that into your life? I don't mean to personally target Vorsh in any way here.
I mean, I think he'll be fine.
Well, yes. But yeah, why bring it into your life? Why not just do what you think is right, and then other people that you know to be wrong, because either there's a scientific study about climate change or UBI or anything like that. If you know them to be wrong, it's a self-selecting thing. If after a while they will learn the truth of a fact, rather than just going to the emotional side of something. So I don't know. I can't abide the idea of just me sitting somewhere all day and debating with someone about should people be allowed to get jabs if they want to? Yes, obviously they should. I'm not much of a one for debating in great detail these enormous issues, because it always comes down to something that's not unovercomable, but it's something that is not worth arguing about, is what it comes down to at the very heart of it. So all I can say is, get your jabs, do your bit to stop climate change, be nice to one another. That's all I can do, just say that and walk away. So
very much so. I mean, it's the whole free speech argument. Like, well, everyone's entitled to free speech, yes, but that doesn't mean that everyone's entitled to a platform to spread the bullshit that they believe in. You know, it's like denying someone to speak on your platform isn't curtailing their free speech. You know,
it's
just not
like
giving
the gay wedding cake thing. Do you remember that?
Yeah, like, I mean, I can't wait. What was? It
was a bakery in the US that refused to bake a cake for a gay couple's wedding.
Yeah.
And that was like a big freedom of speech thing. So they were like, well, if they don't believe in gay people getting married, then they shouldn't have to provide their services for it. And it's the same but reversed. Twitter don't believe that Donald Trump should have a platform on which he can incite hate.
Yeah.
So we're going to revoke his access to it.
Or
it's the same in reverse, really.
Yeah, or a white supremacist being denied.
Donald Trump.
To say, yeah, or another white supremacist denied to speak at a university. You know, it's like you're ruining their free speech. It's like, no, they're just not allowed to say it here. You know, where other people live and work and learn. You know.
You're right. It's that's I think the problem with a lot of different free speech laws is they were written before everybody had a platform.
Yes.
Because if there was no such thing as smartphones, no such thing as Twitter, I would have to just get a box and go and stand on it in the middle of my town and just scream as loudly as I could about UBI and the beneficial effects it can have. So, but now I have Twitter and I can tweet it out to however many people, and I can Instagram it out to however many people.
Yes.
And they'll just go, oh yeah, maybe. Or a massive hate mob will form and hunt me down and kill me. I mean, it could be either.
Yeah. No, definitely. But there you go. We spoke a little bit about GB News and more about the broader sort of context of propaganda, I guess. But yeah, that's another...
At the end of the day, Danny, do you know what propaganda is?
What?
It's when Danny Dyer has a really hard look at something.
Yeah.
There we go. I thought you put that in the end. That's one of my favourite jokes.
That's good. I like that. That was good. Yeah, it really is. But I think we're out of bullshit for this week, Lewis.
Yes, we are out of bullshit. Unless you've got anything about Danny Dyer.
He's a tough nut.
He's a person that exists in the world. I know very little about him. I have nothing about Danny Dyer.
Very much so. But here we go. End of segment, I guess.
Yes.
Goodbye until next week.